The U.S. set to start vaccinating people this Monday. All 50 states are going to get the first doses of the vaccine. The COVID-19 death toll there now close to 300,000. EU Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier says there is still hope for a trade deal with the UK, but there are still deadlocks on two key issues: fishing rights and a level playing field for businesses. And more than 300 students still missing after their school was raided by gunmen in Nigeria. The army there working to find and free the young hostages. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on France 24 this hour. I'm Jeannie Godula in Paris. First, the United States is set to start vaccinations today against COVID-19. Deliveries of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine are being sent around the country. Just like in the UK, the first place to start vaccinating, American healthcare workers and the elderly are first in line. Our Washington correspondent, Kathy Van Gorgestani, told us more about just how the distribution is going to work.
First of all, it's about getting those vaccine to those sites where they will be administered. And this is starting with about 145 sites this Monday who are set to receive the very first doses of the vaccine. Those are mostly very large hospitals across the United States. And then are you going to see over the next couple of days, Tuesday and Wednesday, around 500 other sites that are going to be receiving those vaccines, probably smaller rural hospitals, but also nursing homes and places like CVS or Walgreens, these drugstores where some of these vaccine will be administered. Remember that we're talking right now about not even 3 million doses. This is the first batch, and that first batch, of course, is going on by priority to those healthcare workers and nursing home residents. But if you take those two groups together, that's about 24 million people. We only have 2.9 million doses in this first batch, so not all healthcare workers will be vaccinated right away. Hospitals have had to make some decisions, so most likely the people who will get it first are those doctors that are really in the very front lines in the fight against COVID, those who deal with COVID-19 patients, doctors in emergency rooms, for example. And then as the new vaccines, the new doses, the new batches will roll out, all of these healthcare workers will be vaccinated. Officials here hoping to get this first group, healthcare workers and nursing home residents, those 24 million people vaccinated by the end of the year, at least for that first of two shots.
That's Kathy Van Gorgestani reporting from Washington. And as America is set to start those first vaccinations today, there is still no word on a new COVID relief plan to help the millions hit hard by the pandemic. The current plan expires 2 weeks from now. Talks on a new economic relief plan are set to continue this Monday in Washington between the White House and Congress. Democrats and Republicans have been fighting since the summer on just how to best help households, businesses, and local communities that have been hit with the country's worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. Now, also in the U.S. today, the Electoral College will officially vote in what will be the final step in cementing Joe Biden's win over Donald Trump. But President Trump himself is still insisting his fight to victory is not over. Sharon Gaffney explains.
It's been a defining feature of the US political system for more than 220 years. On Monday, members of the Electoral College, each representing a US state, cast their ballots to nominate either Donald Trump or Joe Biden as president. The candidate who receives 270 votes or more is affirmed as the winner of the US election, with Biden expected to take 306 ballots and Trump 232.
People should not be worried about the period before the new year as producing some kind of additional turmoil or an opportunity for Donald Trump to overturn the will of the voters.
The Electoral College was a compromise meant to strike a balance between those who wanted popular elections for president and those who wanted no public input. It's usually a legal formality, but the process is taking on real political significance this year as Trump continues to undermine the election results. On Friday, he suffered the latest in dozens of losses as the Supreme Court dismissed a lawsuit led by Texas to block Biden's victory in 4 other states. But he's still refusing to admit defeat.
No, it's not over. We keep going, and we're going to continue to go forward. We have numerous local cases where, in some of the states that got rigged and robbed from us. We won every one of them. We won Pennsylvania. We won Michigan. We won Georgia by a lot.
The Electoral College ballots will be tallied and confirmed in a joint session of Congress on the 6th of January, formally cementing Biden's victory. Exactly 2 weeks later, he'll be inaugurated as the 46th President of the United States.
Let's come back now to France, where this country is averaging 12,000 new cases of COVID-19 a day. France is fighting to get a hold on the virus by launching mass testing operations today in 2 cities in northern France, Le Havre and Charleville-Mézières. The goal is to limit the spread of the virus in those specific places, but to also test out the approach before it's rolled out on a wider scale. Emerald Maxwell has more now on mass testing, a strategy that has as many critics as fans.
This is one of 2 pilot cities in France getting ready to mass test their residents. Here in Charleville-Mézières, the number of coronavirus patients is 3 times the national average. The goal is to get the virus under control by testing about a quarter of the town's population on a voluntary basis. If it works here and in Le Havre, the plan's to roll it out to bigger cities. Some epidemiologists, though, worry that the strategy could backfire, giving people who test negative a false sense of security, even if it's just a snapshot of the current situation.
Le fait de prendre un test négatif comme un passeport de non-contagion peut effectivement conduire à relâcher les mesures barrières et les mesures d'hygiène et donc d'être complètement contre-productif.
If volunteers test positive, the next step is the most crucial, strict quarantine.
Si elle ne s'isole pas, tout le dispositif ne sert à rien et n'a plus aucune efficacité. Donc il faut absolument faire de la pédagogie pour que ces personnes comprennent pourquoi elles doivent s'isoler, mais aussi faire en sorte que ces personnes puissent s'isoler. Et donc il y a un accompagnement, notamment logistique et parfois financier.
Elsewhere, the strategy's had mixed results, but has had apparent success in helping to bring down infections in Slovakia and, on a smaller scale, in Liverpool in the UK.
South Korea, meanwhile, has ordered schools to close in and around the capital, Seoul, starting tomorrow. Classes will be moving online until the end of the month. The school closure is a step towards South Korea's Phase 3 social distancing rules, a move that would essentially lock down the 4th biggest economy in Asia. South Korea now fighting its worst outbreak of the virus since the pandemic began. Well, the European Union and Britain are back at the negotiating table today after agreeing to abandon yet another so-called make-or-break deadline for a post-Brexit trade deal. EU negotiator Michel Barnier briefed European ambassadors saying a deal could still be done, but that 2 issues remain unresolved: free and fair competition and an agreement which would guarantee equal access to markets and fishing waters. France 24's Benedict Pavio gave us the latest from London.
The UK and the EU have agreed extra time because they want to go the extra mile at this point for post-Brexit trade talks to possibly reach a deal. That is the goal. But it was interesting to note, after that joint statement of the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and the British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, that the British Prime Minister then downplayed expectations. He warned the country that a no deal was still very, very likely and said that it was therefore likely that the United Kingdom would be trading on WTO, World Trade Organization terms as of the 1st of January 2021. But for now, there is extra time, and that has been really a relief for supermarkets, car makers, all-round business groups saying that that is welcome because they do want clarity. They do think it is preferable to get a deal. And they warn that if that is not the case, if it is on WTO terms, there will be higher prices because of tariffs, and those will mostly be passed on to the consumers. So for now, the clock is ticking, but the outcome is uncertain. We have no new deadline. We simply know that if a deal is to be reached, it needs to be agreed by not just the UK leader and the 27 other member states, but also voted on by the British Parliament and the EU Parliament.
Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara is being inaugurated today for a third term. He'll take the oath of office in front of some 300 guests, including a dozen African heads of state and many international representatives, including the French foreign minister. Ouattara's election in late October was contested by the opposition, but the opposition leader has now put an end to his push for civil disobedience, calling last week for national dialogue. And in Nigeria, more than 300 students are still missing after their school was raided by gunmen Friday. The army there are now working to find and free the young hostages. Our Jean-Emile Jamin has the details.
Osama Aminu is a student at Kankara's government science school in Nigeria. Late on Friday, he was just one of many learners at the school, caught up in a raid by gunmen that saw hundreds kidnapped. But while the hostages were being split into groups, Osama and 4 others managed to escape.
We thought they were soldiers who were trying to protect us, but unfortunately they were not soldiers. When I decided to run, they brought a knife to slaughter me, but I ran away quickly. I ran into the crowd. From there they said they would kill whoever was trying to escape. Then I began to run, climbing one rock to another through a forest.
He was one of the lucky ones. On Sunday, desperate parents congregated at the school, seeking answers about their children's whereabouts.
Our last prayer is to see that our children are back. That is the only prayer. That prayer that we are doing. We are sleepless. Even this night, wallahi, we stood up. We stood up praying to God to bring our children back.
In a bid to provide clarity, President Muhammadu Buhari's office released a statement declaring that the military had located the bandits' hideout in a forest close to the area, while gunfire had allegedly been exchanged. A third of the boys are meanwhile reported to have escaped when the gunmen who were riding motorcycles took them, but it remains unclear as to how many remain captive or what the group wanted. Friday's attack is believed to have been carried out by one of several groups of bandits active in the northwestern region of Nigeria. Groups like these are notorious for kidnapping people for ransom.
And finally, British novelist John le Carré has died, aged 89. The former spy had a colorful life that saw him go from teacher to spy to best-selling author. His insider knowledge of the espionage world gave his books an air of truth that captivated audiences and turned him into a household name. Our Fraser Jackson has more now on the man behind some of the book world's best capers.
He was the spy turned novelist who lifted the curtain on the reality of espionage during the Cold War and redefined the genre as we know it. David Cornwell, better known as John le Carré, has died at the age of 89. After choosing to study German in post-World War II Switzerland, le Carré came to the attention of British intelligence. During his years at Oxford, he informed domestic intelligence on his peers before starting to teach at Eton College. Leaving teaching, he became a full-time spy in 1960 and was posted to Cold War Germany, a move that inspired him to write such classics as The Spy Who Came In From the Cold. Le Carré's portrayal of flawed spies living in a world of moral ambiguity and corrupt institutions flew in the face of other mainstream portrayals of espionage, such as the glamorous world of Ian Fleming's James Bond. Le Carré's characters betrayed their loved ones and showed the posturing of the war from both sides, shattering the British illusion of moral superiority over their Soviet foes and painting their spies as every bit as ruthless. He sold over 60 million copies of his works, with several being adapted for the big screen, including 2011's Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Their impact has redefined the way we think about espionage and even influenced popular language. The Oxford English Dictionary credited Le Carré with bringing words like honeypot and mole into the mainstream.
There's a lot more to come for you on France 24. Don't go away.